didn't think we...
All right, by the way, there is a thing with the longest MMO to ever release, which is rather Ashes of Creation or the Riot Game MMO. Now, we all know, Riot Games has been making decently good games or decently good versions of the League of Legends lore, like Arcane. League of Legends being a failing MOBA, in my eyes anyway. But they've also done card games. I think they're going to release some sort of like Street Fighter type games. I don't know what they're called, but a fighter type game. And they also have platform games they're going to release, and all these like music based games. Like there's a lot of things that Riot Games are going to do and have already done. And the MMO is the most, for me, anticipated thing that they can release. So I'm hoping that they do something well, you know?
We would be talking about this topic. You didn't think there was an update on it. You probably forgot about Riot's MMO.
Who didn't?
But fear not, we do have an update on what is going on with the project.
Yes.
And believe it or not,
Yes.
technically we did get a release window. More importantly, we might be alive to see it. So let's dive into all of this. Even though we haven't talked about the MMO...
By the way, last time I heard, they have said nothing, and Ghostcrawler, who was a part of Warcraft, well, World of Warcraft, in the very early developments, I believe he left as well, so...
For a while. We've been getting steady news the entire time, at least not directly. During Worlds, Cadrill got a couple of words with Mark Merrill about the MMO, where he confirmed that after the reset, the MMO team has a great direction and good momentum, meaning the team is making good progress. But for a while, that was about it. It took us all the way to February until we got the next breadcrumbs. There we got 2 job listings. One for staff service
okay, that's always a good.
and one for staff tools engineer.
If they're hiring, it's better than
Unfortunately,
firing.
neither of those positions tells us much. It should be mostly positions that make the devs' lives easier. It's essentially creating tools that help the other devs make the game, so it's not really specific. After which there was another big break, but in the middle of all of this, there was something special that happened. There was one big event that started a chain of smaller interesting events.
Yes.
And that's the fact that there was this one totally random guy who continued a project from before. And so, OnlyFangs 2 was born. Now,
Huge.
in case you don't know, OnlyFangs was a hardcore WoW guild that was put together by Soda Poppin.
By the way, I know Necrit played Classic World of Warcraft as well, and he obviously he's the League of Legends lore guy. But there's actually a lot of people that was a part of OnlyFans, the hardcore guild, if you don't know, that were external to Warcraft itself, not just like random streamers, but I'm just saying people who do YouTube, people in development, into gaming themselves, or just like random players, you know. So like this is a very big thing.
The reason why this was special is because it was made for streamers.
Yes.
And for about 3 or 4 months, it took over the streaming category on Twitch. And yes, I was part of it. I was literally leveling my character as Arcane was launching in my hotel room. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I had a talk with Tyler about something that happened in the guild, which I was involved in.
Yes,
Anyway,
of
the
course.
reason why OnlyFangs is important to us is because the Riot MMO devs quickly became interested in it as well. And that is for one simple reason. We know as a fact that the Riot MMO devs keep in touch with all the hype that is happening around all the different MMO games. Back when Classic WoW launched, a lot of the MMO devs leveled up their characters and they started actively raiding. Then
Decent.
when Hardcore was first kicked off as a fan add-on, again we saw a number of tweets from the MMO devs posting their characters making it to 60, and after WoW released its official Hardcore server, once again the Riot MMO devs hopped on board and they leveled up their characters together with the rest of the community.
Okay, by the way, this is huge. The fact that we have, well, no, I say we, the fact that there is people who play games talking about creating games, or their job is creating games, is the first step in development, like in anything, you know?
And on top of all
this is
of
huge.
that, Mark Merrill was invited to play in OnlyFangs. On the
very
outside, this was simply a cool moment. It was cool to see the co-founder of Riot being on board for some fun.
100%.
But this is also where an interesting chain of events dripped through. Because in order to play in OnlyFans, you had to stream your leveling experience. This was partially because it was a content guild, but partially it also helped preventing you from cheating, since your viewers could hypothetically help you. Which
Yes, so also like with something like Classic World of Warcraft, right? This could be obviously making an MMO now from an MMO that was from 2004, created I think in like probably in the noughties, like the year of the millennium, was it shows that they're going to look at things like longevity of the actual game. They're going to show, okay, what can we do to build separate parts of the community into a game that is very, very basic, showing that you don't actually need a lot to keep the game going. And also with something like League of Legends, where there's so much lore added on, they can have a massive world with loads of different things going on without layering on, you have to do this kind of crap, which again, hardcore classic, shows that, hey, you have PvP, PvE, and leveling, and that's all you need. And everyone was playing it. So like this is a big thing that they've actually spent their time to play the game.
Which means that Mark Merrill also streamed, and finally, to pay off this big setup, of course, occasionally he also gave us his thoughts on Riot's MMO. And on one faithful day, he did give us the potential release window. Now, because Twitch is Twitch and keeping
with a pinch of salt, I could always delay it.
I wasn't able to find the original clip, but thankfully the channel Oh Hey Spun got the short of Tryndamere talking about this topic.
Will you finish the Riot MMO before 2030? Sure hope so. Although launch is the start, not the end. So, finish.
This could just be a lie. Like, this could just be a lie, by the way. This could just be a lie. Or, like, an exaggerated truth.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time since its announcement, which wasn't really a proper announcement, I don't think we are supposed to know that the MMO is even in.
Again, Ghost Crawler from, I believe he's from the Blizzard, like early day Blizzard. I think he recently left.
We got an official, unofficial release window, where the co-founder of Riot Games feels very strong about the MMO releasing before 2030.
Okay, that's huge. But also, 2030 is, again, 5 years away. And also, he could just be going off a deadline that he has to please the majors above, the investors, the big boys, where the real money is. Huge.
In other words, that is before the end of this decade. So yes, we will be older, but it should be in our...
I will be in my 30s playing League of Legends MMO. I will be in my 30s. Just hold on a minute. Not even that. I'm saying this now. I have no viewers. I have barely any subscribers. I got 332 followers. I will say this now. I will be able to stream with a decent amount of viewers when this game releases. This will be the game. This will be the game. I promise.
Lifetimes. Congratulations, everyone. The cool thing is that this is not the only piece of news that we have. There are other things that are still constantly happening around the MMO. You see, after the entire classic WoW saga happened, where the MMO devs got a fresh breeze of the community's actions, there was also a swirl of the MMO and the MOBA players. Because obviously, Tyler 1 became a really influential member of OnlyFans, which is someone outside...
Again, it's from League of Legends as well, which is hilarious. I kind of miss Tyler 1 doing... Warcraft content. I do. A lot of the OnlyFans like streamers that were external to Warcraft brought in a different energy within World of Warcraft. It isn't just we're sitting there, we're doing raids, which again, that's what I'm a part of. there was a lot of shit going on. It was high energy. It was consistent. People died. People were toxic. People were causing problems. There was always something going on. And obviously after the OnlyFans situation, where pretty much Title 1 left and people started quitting, it became an issue of now we're just doing the cycle of just raiding, which I kind of miss. Bring Title 1 back, you know?
In fact, he was responsible for making a lot of League players interested in WoW, which of course
and vice versa.
has a lot of value to Riot. Because through Soda Poppin and Tyler, Riot got a lot more of their audience get their foot into the MMO genre. But what's even more interesting is that after OnlyFans was over, the opposite happened as well. And now, some of these WoW...
So there was a thing with World of Warcraft going to Warcraft 3, huge. World of Warcraft going to League of Legends, huge. I know that it might have been Peekaboo or Zaryu. I think they might even have been both. They started playing League, which they have played League before, obviously, but they started playing League again. So this is a good thing.
Players started playing League for the first time. The most known ones are Pika, Zyru, or Savix.
Okay, there we go.
This is something Riot wanted to achieve for a long time. And they are able to pull this off because they are paying attention to the new player experience. At least now they are. So with stuff like Brawl, which is a great new player experience.
Yes, of course.
Also the slightly simplified...
By the way, I uninstalled League of Legends because I played it before. I had some time with it. And I didn't like how they were going with the champs. But apart from that, if there were people playing it that I knew, and it was become like, hey, let's go have fun with it, you can do that in League. Which is a good thing. Having things that are just fun, not focusing on like ranking.
Champion acquisition, as well as the potential WASD controls in the future, it seems like Riot is making great progress. And so while there may be people who think that League is dying, the truth is that it seems to be getting more and more new players. With the catch being, they come from outside of your classic League bubble. So most people may not even know that this is happening. Anyway, after this great merging of the MMO and the MOBA players, which happened through something that was outside of Riot's control, we got another piece of news that hints what the Riot MMO is doing now. And that's because, that's right, there was another MMO job listing.
2 engineers roles, I'm assuming. Yeah, so engineering roles. So they're really trying to pick up the pace with it.
In fact, there were 3 totally separate ones. First of all, one of these openings is the same one we got back in February. The staff software engineer is still up. Essentially, they are the backbone of the MMO software.
Maybe
it is all about technical
team.
performance as well as making stuff in C or C++, which makes sense since it is pretty much confirmed that the MMO is in Unreal Engine. I mean, it even states here that you need experience with making multiplayer games in Unreal Engine. Which is funny because for the longest time, Unreal Engine was not great for multiplayer. Anyway, this...
I think that's changed. I think a lot of people now, development-wise, I don't do stuff like this. I'm not a developer myself, but I feel like everyone's moving to Unreal Engine, and I think there's obviously a huge reason why. But like the Unreal Engine like use is now just being amplified. Everyone's gonna do it. I wouldn't be shocked if like Blizzard start using it. You know.
This job listing isn't really that important because most people will have no idea what this even is. The far more interesting one is the Principal 3D Environment Artist. That's right, we're talking about people who take concept art and turn it into 3D environment. And once again, as mentioned, it is all done in Unreal Engine 5.
Okay, by the way, like League of Legends, World of Warcraft and League of Legends both have like very specific art styles. And even though people now are saying like, the Warcraft art style, it's too Disney, I'm hoping Riot learns from that because they have got their art style. But let's just hope it doesn't go too anime. That's because Riot is more on the anime side. But at the moment, Blizzard's more on the Disney side. So like, let's just hope they kind of stick to their side and say, okay, this is what we're doing. We got cool particle effects, which is what they do. But let's not go too anime, you know. Let's just it's an MMO, right? Let's not keep it too anime and go down like the Final Fantasy route. Kind of stick to your own little
But what's
art
interesting
style.
here are the responsibilities here. Riot is looking for someone to make 3D environment assets,
Mm-hmm.
who also knows how to implement these assets in Unreal Engine. They need to know how to optimize performance with draw calls and poly count and stuff like that.
I can pretend I
and they
do
even
it.
call for deeper understanding of PBRs and real-time lighting. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Unreal Engine was always really good at real-time lights, but it's interesting that they are seemingly heavily leaning into PBRs. Now, PBRs are usually materials that are really good at mimicking real materials. That's because they are good at faking details and lighting and shading. But Riot did mention that their game should have a unique style. So now I am interested to see how they are utilizing PBRs for stylized graphics. Next, they want someone who can put together different biomes, which makes sense. Runeterra has a lot of those.
There's also this the concept of Riot Runeterra. By the way, Terra is another word for Earth. Or it's a name for Earth, which is kind of hilarious. So it's just called Rune Earth, by the way. There's so many different like biomes as such, but I'm hoping that this isn't like where World of Warcraft does it, where there's just sand and it's a little bit of a sand biome, and then jungle, there's a bit of a jungle biome, and there's just mountains blocking the way. Do you know what I mean? It would be kind of cool if they actually open up and this is how big it is. You know, you can spend some time going from one way to the other. You can have flight paths or teleports or whatever you want, but you go from one side to the other, and it actually takes its time, you know? So, like, as long as the map is actually huge, and by the way, there's still the Shadow Isles and all these other things, like, you can avoid realms as such. Like Runeterra or League of Legends, you know, Riot Lore, it's perfect. And as we've seen in Arcane, if you don't watch it, go watch it. It's one of the best animated things. It is a very, very, very good, like, developed world. So, like, keep that in mind.
And finally, a good mention is that they also want to utilize PCGs. In other words, it is the procedural world generation.
Okay.
If you've seen any of Unreal's updates, you would know that Unreal is really good at generating worlds out of the assets that you feed it. Now don't worry, we are not talking about generative AI or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just that Unreal Engine can generate a world for you with your assets, which should work as the baseline for the artists to make the world.
Okay, this is good. As long as everything looks like aesthetically pleasing, this is very, very good.
Though, as an interesting thought, PCGs could be used for dynamically generating world. So maybe you can have instances that are just different every time you enter them. Anyway, lastly, there is one more job listing that also popped up, and that is for the principal game designers who would work on progression and economy. What's important here is that this means that the game will likely support economy between players. So it is not just individual gold generation, which is present.
I'm assuming auction houses and like trading and all these types of like maybe GDKPs. Like maybe they allow, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Who knows?
In most of the new pseudo MMOs, in those games, usually you can't even trade. Well, here they are specifically looking for someone who would foster deeper social interaction between players. And that is kinda it for the news about the MMO. So what did we learn today? Well, the MMO is very much alive. In fact, surprisingly, it should come out within the next 5 years. And once we get to play it, well,
I'll be
Riot
33, guys.
they don't want to disappoint the players. I mean, the players will always fill the gaps
Turning
with their
34.
own hopes and dreams. But Riot is kind of proving that they
I'll
are
be
part of the
33.
community, so they know what those hopes and dreams should be, which is a really good thing. So now all we can do is just think of where we will be in the next 5 years. It might.
I'll be 33. Playing World of Warcraft Classic for the 3rd time. Maybe 4th. 4th time. Waiting for Ashes of Creation to release. Turning around going, hey, Riot MMO, it's got a cinematic. That's what I'm hoping for. I'll be almost mid-30s. I'll be turning 33, so I'll be towards my mid-30s. Hoping that I can get a cartoon-looking MMO game to play and ignore my life. But at least by then, I'll be the biggest streamer.
might be a really fun idea to make a capsule video before the MMO comes out.
Hopefully. Yeah, come on. Honestly, the Riot MMO is probably going to be the most toxic thing. Oh, saying that, is it going to be toxic? I don't know. See, like, when it comes to the MMO, right? What do we need? You know, we need a game that feels like not only it's worth your time to play, right? But with outright MMOs, it needs something. It needs something to say, hey, we want a game that doesn't just make people feel like they've just spent their time on this game for no fucking reason, and then when they go play another game, they feel like, why haven't I been playing this whole time? I want to play a game that isn't just enjoyable,